I'm Mya Vinnett for the Stanford Daily outside Dinklesfield Auditorium as we await the arrival of the 48th Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, as well as the student-led protests that are slated to accompany his arrival. We'll now hand over coverage to our indoor correspondent, Janelle.
Hello, it's Janelle Olisea with the Stanford Daily Video Roundup. Pence is expected to draw a sold-out crowd, with the Stanford College Republicans saying that there is a large wait list. To describe the lead-up to the speech as tumultuous would be an understatement. The ASSU Undergraduate Senate initially attempted to block a request to fund the Stanford College Republicans event, but that was then overturned by the Constitutional Council, allowing the event to move forward. Now, some students say they're planning to protest outside and others to walk out after the event begins. A spokesperson for the College Republicans responded to reports of walkout protests, telling the Daily that walking out and denying these students on the waitlist for the event and the opportunity to see the VP is wrong. And now, over to Maya.
As early as 5 p.m., students began to assemble in White Plaza to display their displeasure and outrage at the arrival of the former vice president. Students displayed these strong emotions by chalking the sidewalks of White Plaza, painting signs, and banding together to achieve a collective goal. But what is that goal?
Yeah, just being here, being heard, being out here, supporting each other, and just showing Mike Pence what we're about,
I want to speak up for those who are too scared to speak up for themselves due to Pence's hate and a lot of other things.
I think there has to be a real reckoning with the fact that there is a lack of organization on the left in this country, and the fact that the SCR was able to organize this is because it's a testament to how highly organized the right wing is in this country. And all the students here, if they actually want to make true change, they must join a student organization on campus to truly get involved of how to build power.
So you were one of the people who spoke out and actually took the megaphone during the protest just now. If you could give us a recap of some of the points you made as to why you're out here protesting and what you have to say in response to Mike Pence coming to Stanford.
Yeah, so in high school I reported a Title IX case, and that was, I think, the year of or a year after Betsy DeVos had enacted her Title IX regulations and changes that basically made the entire process a lot less victim-oriented, considering that Mike Pence was a direct sort of lead to DeVos taking office because he broke the tiebreaker in the Senate for whether or not she should be put into office, and he actually got her elected. I just thought that maybe I should probably speak out about that because it affected me so much, and it's affected so many students across the country, and it's, like I said, been a regression in our history.
As the night goes on and more people are let off the wait list, we hear more stories of people who are outraged at the fact that Mike Pence is coming to campus, but we also hear more stories of people who are optimistic or even curious about what a former Vice President of the United States has to say. So why did you want to come out to the Mike Pence event tonight?
I wanted to hear what he had to say. He's the ex-vice president. He knows a lot. So I want to be educated, see what his stance was, to see what I can learn about politics. I feel like I don't know enough. So I wanted to come out and learn more.
Well, really, it's not about any particular political message or any of that. It's just that it's not every day you get to see a former vice president. I think one of the great things about Stanford is you have so many really good speakers and events coming to campus. So you have a great opportunity to see some people that you may not get to see again.
It's currently 7 p.m. here on Stanford's campus, which means Speaker Mike Pence is slated to begin his talk at any moment. We still see large crowds of people outside protesting, but we also see a large crowd of people outside waiting to claim a waitlist ticket. Our indoor team was able to catch footage of some of the inside protesters.
Would you rather have a gay son or a thought daughter?
As well as clips of Mr. Pence's remarks.
We have the worst border crisis in American history. People are suffering on both sides of the border. Critical race theory is nothing less than state-sanctioned racism, and it should be rejected by every school in every state. Some of my very good friends in the Congress were names you might know but be surprised by. The late John Lewis and I were very good friends. I co-led the annual pilgrimage to Selma, Alabama.
We're now going to take a moment to talk to some students who actually went inside the Pence event but were asked to leave. Katie, what made you decide to come out to this event today?
Well, as soon as I saw that it was happening, I was pretty interested in hearing out former Vice President Pence. I think it's obviously there's a lot of discourse around him coming, and so I wanted an opportunity to actually hear what he had to say and give him a chance to sort of hear out his stance before making kind of judgments ahead of time about what he was going to say or what I thought he was going to say.
So how did the event compare to your expectations of it? Why were you asked to leave?
Well, I, throughout the event, was yelling in response to some of the things that he was saying. Predominantly, he started off the event sort of listing off, things that were sort of challenging about the state of America, the state of COVID, and blaming them out on Biden, and I kept yelling, "Your fault." Then I was asked, they said if I yelled one more time, I'd be asked to leave, so I waited for my last moment to get something good in there. And then somebody asked a question about his willingness to work across the aisle and work in a bipartisan way. And he said that he has lots of friends on the other side of the aisle, including the late John Lewis, and I yelled, "You disgraced him," and then I was asked to leave. I felt like as much as Pence was speaking, he wasn't really saying anything, and I think that's probably what surprised me the most, is that I assumed he would be sort of spouting at least sort of a clear argument, even if I disagreed with it, but I didn't feel like there was a clear argument other than just like, we need to be the generation of freedom, and that's what he kept saying. He was just like, you're the generation of freedom, you're the generation of freedom. But obviously his view and definition of freedom is a lot different than mine.
Honestly, I thought that there would be mostly protesters in there. I didn't expect there to be so many outside community members that were clearly in support of Mike Pence. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of haggling. It was pretty much him talking. And I honestly thought it was going to be more funny, but hearing him talk and the video they played before was like more terrifying to me.
Do you have anything else you want to say about how you're feeling about it? Any regrets? Are you happy you came? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I definitely think it was interesting to come. I think I'm surprised I didn't really realize how big the Pence support community was here, and it was definitely interesting to see that in real life. But yeah, I'm definitely glad I came. I definitely think it's good that we have free speech on this campus and that we allow speakers of all types to come, because that's important, and I'm glad that Stanford allows that.
One of the Stanford College Republicans' co-presidents spoke to our inside team about their thoughts on the event's protests.
I mean, I think that there's better ways to go about it than disruptions within the auditorium, but it's their First Amendment right to speak, and outside, it's their opinion. I'm not gonna say they shouldn't protest. They have the right to protest, and I think it's amazing to use your First Amendment right.
Former Vice President Mike Pence just concluded his speech at Dinglishville Auditorium. His speech emphasized conservative values, the importance of freedom of speech, and respect for the U.S. Constitution. While his speech was interrupted numerous times by protests from the audience, SCR's co-president Sarah Olmstead says that the event was still extremely successful, and she hopes that students learn from the words of the former vice president.
Near the conclusion of the event, we were able to catch up with the organizers of the student-led protests.
At the end of the protests, we sort of called back and said that this isn't the beginning of hate at Stanford, it's not the end either, and that there's more necessary work to be done.
In terms of, what we've seen tonight, I think this has been an incredible show of community and coalition building at Stanford, and that a lot of people here have felt really supported and really heard, and I know I have. But I think that people really try to push forward this idea that Stanford has this really self-serving culture, right? And that everyone here is only out for themselves and their job. But I think tonight we showed that that's not true, and that there's a lot of people who don't want to go to a school like that, and are going to continue showing up for their community and the community that we helped establish today. Simultaneously, I'm disappointed. I watched an incredible number of Stanford students walk into an event without a bit of embarrassment.
Many of our friends, classmates, RAs,
Yeah.
people in our hall,
Former
it was very heartbreaking to witness.
When you think about what your goals were at the beginning of today, and now that we're at the end of the day, do you feel like you've accomplished those goals?
I mean, our primary goal was just to hold space for people who did not want Mike Pence on campus, and to be quite honest, we surpassed that goal. By the end, we were all again, tired but also empowered and ready for the next fight.
The event was extremely successful. We had as packed an auditorium as we possibly could have, and people were engaged, whether that was protesting, whether that was asking questions. People came, people listened, people interacted, and that's what we want. We want to bring more conversations to campus, and I think that really happened.
How do you want the Stanford community to remember what you organized here today?
It wasn't through committees, and it wasn't through affinity groups. Rithvik and I sat down at like a lunch table in Branner and made this happen. And I want more people at Stanford to take a step out and not for a title, and not do it through a bunch of administrative processes, but just go and do something for your community. And we have a community here to fight for, and it's actually pretty great.
Yeah.
It's been an eventful day on campus, to say the least, filled with memorable moments and strong emotions. This has been a Stanford Daily Video Roundup special report. On behalf of the Video Roundup team, I'm Mya Vinnett, and thank you for watching.